Welcome to the Reality Check. Your host, Ben Sherman, here with you every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. for one straight hour, uninterrupted and set by me and sometimes Mother Nature. Oh no, wait, wrong folder. I gotta figure this out. Yes, I gotta block that, right? The soccer balls back here. Yes, they are from the Russia World Cup, I know. We can talk about collusion, Russia, World Cup, soccer balls, Russia. We'll get into that silly stuff later. How do we start off this week with so much to talk about? We got everything. We're going to do some theory bounces today on Las Vegas, on Seth Rich. We'll talk about bannings in the UK. We'll talk about California, of course. What else do we got on our agenda? I made them into cute little notes. So they're not really cute because nobody can read my handwriting, even me. So that's why something like, hey, wait a minute. We'll talk about O'Slammer. We'll talk about Mueller. If we have time, or maybe we'll talk about Mother's Day. That's coming up soon. But on to the first one today. This is great. California public schools caught working with care. And you're thinking like, wow, that's not a bad thing. They're working with care. Yeah, not care. Iron Maiden. I got an Iron Maiden story. Not a big one, but a little one to talk about too. But so California public schools caught working with care. Right? Not CARE like they care about their students. Nope. But care like the Council on American Islamic Relations. So, a federal judge ordered the San Diego Unified School District last week to hand over evidence detailing its correspondence with the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, C-A-I-R, not CARE, C-A-R-E, about the implementation of a controversial anti-Islamophobia bullying initiative at San Diego public schools. This development's the latest in the long-running concerns school officials in San Diego coordinating with CARE. CARE, if you don't know, they're an American Muslim civil rights group and a religious organization, but they have known links to a number of anti-Israeli groups like Muslim Brotherhood, amongst many, and then they also were named co-conspirators by our government in terrorist acts. So, obviously not a group we want to be dealing with. So I guess in April, the San Diego School District announced that it was launching an anti-Islamophobia initiative to combat what it describes as a vast and underreported epidemic of anti-Muslim bullying in school districts. So the multi-year anti-bullying plan was developed with care, and it called for adding Muslim holidays to staff calendars, introducing new library materials of Muslim culture, encouraging Muslim-centered high school clubs, creating safe spaces for Muslim students, and providing the staff training about Muslim culture. Free prayer rug for every teacher who comes on. If we do this right, the San Diego Unified School District would be the leading school district in the nation to come up with a robust and beautiful anti-bullying and anti-Islamophobic program. Blah, blah, blah. Again, any chance they can get California, always doing what's wrong. Always doing what's wrong. It's pretty sad. So now they're getting sued, so now we're going to have to waste more taxpayer money, obviously. If you want to work with something, try not working with a terrorist group. So, Iron Maiden, right? I was wearing my Iron Maiden shirt today, and I was getting some pizza for dinner. And interesting how somebody's like, you like Iron Maiden? I was like, I've liked them since the 80s. And the guy at the desk, counter, says, yeah, I like Iron Maiden a little too. And he lifts up I don't want to see my arm, but he lifts up his arm, and big, huge Eddie tattoo. Pretty darn cool. Pretty cool. So he liked Iron Maiden a hell of a lot. And that was pretty cool. There's still a ton of Iron Maiden fans out there, and that's pretty awesome. So now let's talk about Las Vegas, right? Obviously we still don't know much about Las Vegas, but some theories that bounce around are things that we know, things that we've heard. Obviously, still with Paddock, he's supposedly a one man, the one man who was doing all this, right? He's the one. So you got Paddock. But the FBI was provided with forensic evidence that there were multiple gunmen. They've told their agents to stand down. They told them to focus on Paddock only. Even internal audio captured hotel guests talking about multiple firings, and it's just ignored. I mean, it's one thing if you say, we researched this, we found this. But when people are telling you these things and you ignore it and you're like, no, this is the theory and that's what we're working with, and you're not willing to look at anything else, that's usually the reason for unsolved cases. Half the time it's because somebody can't, they just want to focus on one thing, and if they're wrong, all their eggs in that one basket. And now the question you got to ask is, are all their eggs in the one basket? So when the FBI was provided with names, persons of interest, assisted, agents were just told, don't bother interviewing these people. You also have, besides the people never pursued, right, intelligence and information and other agents saying there was a second shooter, there could be a second shooter, check this out. Now, the FBI uncovered specific evidence showing that Paddock was anti-Trump. He could have been with Antifa, and no leads, nothing looked into. They were given, the FBI intelligence and the Las Vegas, PD had evidence that he was a member of a cell. And I know the government knew about some of that because he came up on wiretaps they had. They say it could have been as many as 5 gunmen who planned the entire, firing from the Mandalay Bay suite. Evidence never pursued. They were provided forensic evidence that Paddock's death was not a suicide, and none of that was looked into. They said he suffered 2 gunshot wounds. His autopsy reported details of a single bullet to the head. So, what do we know? I mean, there's just so many other questions. Some of the rumors were that he chose to strike that country music concert in Vegas because those people were, quote unquote, not even just Trump supporters, but anti the regular agenda, and they basically no research on that. The MGM, their refusal to share footage. And then besides not sharing the footage, how many times have they said, oh, there was no camera there was no camera there? It's like, we know damn well there are cameras everywhere in Vegas. The next time you go to Vegas, look up, look everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. Look at your normal streets when you go out. There are more cameras than you can even find. And yet, what do we get? What do we get from these people? It's the same old thing. You have the basic, we didn't have cameras there, and then they've shown us no footage. So what about the cameras they have? Where's the footage from them? The FBI's been provided all the camera footage, I guess. Or if they have, they've never shared or talked about any of it. They had to know something from that camera footage. They have to know something. I mean, it's just simple. So, let's see here. So they're trying to say that Paddock started buying dozens of guns and bullets. When? What's the timeline of that? What do we know about that? How long? I mean, there's not really any. Did it accelerate over a short period of time? Let's say perhaps last, or was it something that he, bought over 5 or 6 years? Remember, Paddock wired over $100,000 to the Philippines shortly before what he did. And then they're saying, the FBI is kind of saying that, oh, it wasn't true. what is it that we are to believe? And this is why we're in this idea where we have to have theory. We have to have just theories that we can bounce off each other. And what does Trump know about this? What do White House officials know about this? We just have either the FBI is very slow on stuff or they're dishonest on stuff. Same thing with the Las Vegas Metro Police. What is it that they know? When did they find out stuff? Are they lying to us? Are they slow on stuff? I don't know. How did that door get locked, right? How did he lock himself out as a shooter from one room to the next if he wanted 2 shooting points? Something still never addressed. I don't know. Are these people on the loose still free to kill again? Do we know? Do we know if he had co-conspirators? Now, breaking news that some people might not know is Stephen Hawking died today due to complications due to amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a progressive neurodegenerative disease. He was 76. So he was a famous theoretical physicist and cosmetologist. Now, cosmetologist, not a cosmetologist. Better known for his work on the black holes, Hawking theorized that contrary to the prevailing scientific belief that black holes were inescapable for all forms of matter and energy. Most people have noted or said or believe that he was the smartest man. Obviously always debatable on that, but is he a gift to the world? A lot of people would say that. Obviously we want him to rest in peace. It's always never a positive thing when most people die. And obviously he did a lot of good things, whether you agree with him or not. And there are a lot of things that he said that I disagreed with personally, but it was a very bright. He'll be missed in general. So that was breaking news, and so now I guess I should go back to let's see, next up. So more theories and things we can bounce out. We talked Las Vegas, and of course, obviously, the news of Stephen Hawking's passing. Obviously, not something planned, but now we'll go to Seth Rich. A lot of people have lots of theories on Seth Rich. I myself have many of them. There's many in the news, many, there's a lot of things you got to know about Seth Rich. A lot of people don't even know who Seth Rich was. They don't know what he did. But there's just a lot of crazy things. So, Seth Rich was a DNC data director for new voter registration for the Democrats. He wasn't a staffer. That's what you hear all the time. People say that Seth Rich was a staffer. He was not a staffer. It's different. He was actually somebody who worked for the DNC. Yes, he was very heavily a Hillary Clinton supporter. So everyone knows that Seth Rich was murdered. What we've been told, is that it's robbery. But as we'll go on to this and some of our theories and some of our talks about this, it's not exactly that simple. So the chief of police in Washington, D.C., 30 days after the Seth Rich murdered, went from a $250,000 job, to a $1 million a year job working for the NFL. It's just a strange coincidence. You could say nothing, that's fine. And there are a lot of weird things surrounding this. And one, it's kind of like circumstantial evidence, right? When you have circumstantial evidence, Yeah, like, okay, that could be a coincidence. Or, okay, yeah, you could say this, I can look at it this way. And that's one. But then there are two. And then there are three. And then there are four, and five, and six, and seven, and eight, and nine, and 10. Almost like 10 little Indians, right? There's circumstantial evidence. And when it all falls and fits into place, sometimes people have actually been convicted for crimes just on circumstantial evidence, because it comes to the point of it's beyond a shadow of a doubt and there's nobody else you can believe that did something. It should make sense. I mean, it does to me. So you look around now and you see, so the DNC, not a staff member, but somebody actually worked there. But his fellow workers, right, the day after he's murdered, take a picture and they post it up on Twitter. And they say how tough it is smiling, and they miss him, yet they all have smiles on their face. I mean, could you really smile the day after somebody you knew and worked with that, from all accounts, was a great guy, and he was murdered? Would that be a time? I don't know. I think it would be hard. And then with Seth Rich, just like Las Vegas, right? In Vegas, video everywhere, photo everywhere. So supposedly there's only one picture of the night Seth Rich was murdered. You can see it almost like on a crosswalk. That's supposedly the only picture. But yet, when you do research and you look through things, you can actually see there are businesses with cameras around. So did the police get that videotape from all those businesses around that had cameras? Right? I mean, they even have a TV show on ID about that, where they get camera footage. It's not necessarily the footage of that actual crime committed, but it's things that, okay, somebody was on this block or this person's on that block. And that will, lead them on the investigation and give them more clues and give them more tips. Maybe we'll look at this camera down the block and that. Okay, so this person came here at this time, they left here at this time, this person's dead, so we know they're in the vicinity, they're in the time. Maybe we could check them out. Here's another camera here. Here's them throwing away something. Interesting. What is that? Now we can go search for it. And that's how it's all built up. And with the Seth Rich thing, did the police ever investigate any of this? All we heard right away was it was a robbery. A robbery. So, I mean, like I said, the chief of police and the assistant chief of police both resigned less than a year from the murder. Interesting. Okay. And then we have a bar owner who knew Seth Rich. He was a really good customer, Lou City Bar. Was talking about on the night where he was murdered, which was July 9th. He talked that Seth Rich was at the bar, and the GM, Joe Capone, offered Rich a cab, or told him he could stick around to get a ride home. And Rich declined. He told him that he was going elsewhere that night, but he never knew, even though they were really close friends. Now, if you look at, there were no witnesses besides this guy that had said he was even at the bar that night. So how long was Seth Rich at that bar? That was the night of UFC 200, right? So the biggest card there was, right? Biggest grossing UFC pay-per-view of all time. I'm sure this is the big bar there. I'm sure it was packed with people. Packed beyond the normal. No video. No other witnesses that saw him in the bar, And then the GM of the bar changed his story. So what are we to believe of this? I mean, is it, they say guns kill people, but guns don't kill people. testifying against the Clintons seems to do that. And I know, we'll say conspiracy theory, but it is well known, hinted by Julian Assange, that Seth Rich was the person who gave him the DNC information. You can beg to differ. That's your opinion. But I mean, look at Seth Rich. Just look at from what they said. They said this was a robbery. So private investigators looked at it and said, so far of what they were saying was, the investigator was saying that there's evidence that Seth Rich had given Julian Assange information on the DNC. And the minute that came out, Seth Rich's parents immediately tried to sue this guy and made him cease and desist his investigation and going public with it. Very interesting. I mean, personally, you'd think parents would want to get to the bottom of it. And even if it's something they didn't want to hear, then maybe they can have them be private with it to them and let them, learn about it first, and then maybe they can divulge it or however it comes out. But very interesting that they choose to stop this whole thing. Now, he was robbed, they say. That's what the police tell us. But nothing was taken. This guy had a wallet. He had cash. He had an expensive watch. He had credit cards. He had a cell phone. And he had a Jewish chai pendant that was worth a lot of money. It's jewelry, right? Necklace with a charm. And yet nothing was taken. So you're telling me somebody that would... It's one thing if you get scared when you're around somebody, but if you're going to shoot them, this person's not scared. If you're going to shoot somebody when you're around them, you're taking what you can. You're definitely taking something. So officials have told the Riches that their son died at a nearby hospital less than 2 hours after being shot. They were saying he didn't know he was hit. They didn't know, I'm sorry. They didn't know that he was hit in the back by 2 bullets. So they were stating that Joel Rich was stating that he didn't know where Seth Rich was shot later on, but he was saying that night he found that he was told his son didn't know he was hit in the back twice. So how was he that confused? He said he didn't know, but he was told that he was told that his son didn't know. So how does the dad not know if he was told? He stated multiple times, I didn't know where he was shot, but he was told. And did he forget the information? I don't know. But remember, like I said, Julian Assange, 30 days after Seth Rich was murdered, Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, said there was a 27-year-old who works for the DNC who was shot in the back for unknown reasons. And then the host that was interviewing him asked, that was just a robbery, wasn't it? And Assange said, no, there are no findings. So the host says, prods him some more, what are you suggesting? So Assange says, I'm suggesting there are other sources that, our sources take risks and they become concerned to see things like this, see things like this happening. So the host asked him, was he one of your sources? And of course, Assange says, we don't comment on who our sources are. So he basically went on an interview to say how high the stakes are for the election and that sources face serious risks. And they come and they want their anonymity protected, obviously. So, I mean, there are many theories and thoughts you can have and think about the Seth Rich thing, but I mean, the bottom line is how are they so quick to assume that this is a robbery when nothing's taken and they don't know who it was? Like, if you don't know who it was, then how do you know why it was? I mean, that's just a simple question right there that leads us to many problems. You know, I mean, it's just, it doesn't make much sense. You can say, maybe we think it's this or that, but there's no evidence it was a robbery. And you, again, don't know who did it. So without knowing who did it, and no evidence that it was a robbery, how does the conclusion come it was a robbery? I don't know. I mean, it's just something we have to think about and just keep on going on about. It's interesting, but it's a whole interesting thing, like what he was doing out that late at night. I mean, and you do have in WikiLeaks that when some of the stuff came out, that John Podesta, has disappeared quite well now. He's definitely for making an example out of a suspected leaker, whether or not we have any real basis for it. So, back to that part of it is Podesta, how did he know it was a leaker? Why would he say that? Because the whole thing we were told is someone hacked in, and that's how they got that information. And then we're told by the media, oh, well, he just gave his passcode out. He got phished. So if either one of those are true, or both of them are true, or they're not sure which one of those are true, why would they think there was a leaker? Unless some of this information wasn't from emails, some things that came out, and they know that it had to come from someone on the inside. Just another piece of that circumstantial evidence. But all we hear is Seth Rich was robbed, no evidence, no suspect, and it's a big nothing burger. People are so ready to dismiss, I mean, there's not much knowledge of the leak, right? But you know that at the time, the White House, which was Obama, and the media to this day still have many reasons to try to keep other truth about this, the truth, but other thoughts about it, because it's only going to be bad for these people. But I mean, that's one of my theories on it. I mean, I think, and I've said straight out that I think Seth Rich was the person who, gave information to WikiLeaks. And just like a lot of people that end up either in a position where they're going to testify or say something about the Clintons, it just ends up bad things happen to them, and maybe she doesn't do any of that stuff, or Bill, they have nothing to do with it. That's fine. I mean, then they're the luckiest people in the world. That's all we have to say, It's just as simple as that. I mean, there's nothing else more for that one, but it's definitely something that we'll have to bring out every month or two, and keep on following up and see where we get to it. So here's an interesting one. Britain. Now, Britain is this peaceful country, love peace, let everyone in, who cares where they come from and what they want to do, and you have people saying kill the queen, and it's okay that they come to the country. But interesting, and I'll start off with Martha Stewart. Thanks to an online petition that garnered more than 325,000 signatures, Britain's parliament took up a debate in 2016 whether or not to support a ban on Donald Trump. Now, it's funny, they've actually banned Martha Stewart. They banned her because she was convicted of lying about selling stocks that plunged the price, soon after a trade related to the In-Clone Systems insider trading scandal, and that was She was sentenced to jail for that, crime, even though buddy hers, Hillary Clinton, had much more crimes and wasn't sentenced. But very interesting. But if you follow me on this one, of course, like people like Edward Snowden, he's banned from Britain. Snowden, the former NSA contractor who flew to Moscow in 2013 after revealing, secret information about the NSA, he's banned from Britain. So, Mike Tyson is actually another person who's banned from Britain because of his rape conviction. Tyson learned in 2013 that he was banned from entering Britain when he was planning to fly there to promote his autobiography, Undisputed Truth. So he was convicted in 92 for rape and sentenced to 6 years in prison, which he served 3. So he's actually banned from Britain. Crazy enough. And, there are many other people banned from Britain, but one of the most famous people was banned from Britain in 2009 when Britain announced that conservative radio talk show host Michael Savage was on a list of 16 people banned from the UK because of concerns that his views could provoke violence. Was it Jackie Smith, who was at the time, British, home security? It's not Homeland there, but like home security, home secretary, I don't know what they call it. She said it was important that people understand the sorts of values and sorts of standards that we have here. The fact that it's a privilege to come, and the sort of things that mean you won't be welcomed in this country. So they actually reaffirmed Savage's ban in 2011, despite his lawyer's attempts to have it listed. Now, it's crazy because actually, like some of the other people have been convicted of crimes, Michael Savage has not. So basically, it's because of his opinions or whatnot, they banned him from Britain. And you see, so Savage has been banned all this time, put on a list with some people were rapists, terrorists, and then yet at the same time, Britain has let in people who have raped children, who have raped women, who have killed and raped children and women. People who think it's okay to stone women to death. That's what they let in. People who say hateful things about other countries, they let them in all the time. So very interesting the way they do their ban, or, the consistency or lack of consistency, I would say, of it. Always interesting. But, here we have just recently, and this is what brought this up and back in my mind, they just recently banned somebody else. Now, the government banned a Canadian right-wing activist and journalist, Laura Southern. Southern was on a bus traveling to Britain. It was last Sunday when she was singled out by the border police, who seized her passport and took her in for questioning. She was released from detention by British authorities in a French port on Monday, and she said she was doing fine, but that she was banned from the UK for racism. What that racism is, we really don't know. But that's a good old the British opinion. Just again, Britain. I don't know. It's crazy because people say kill the Queen and they let them in and make them citizens, and other people say little to nothing, hateful, and here it is. They want to ban them. I wonder who's running things over there, because they have a mayor of London who's pretty hateful, and he's allowed full free access not only to be in the UK but to run a large city there. So I don't know. What would they say to that? Oh, they really don't care. I guess that's it. And that's why Britain as a nation is falling apart. Once high standards and once the quality of life is pretty much, broken down and to a shell of itself. And, It's just it. It's pretty sad. It's pretty pathetic. What else is new? Let's see. What else did we learn this week? Barack Obama's campaign had hired Fusion GPS to investigate Mittens Romney. Sound familiar? Why, yes. Obama's campaign hid the payments to Fusion GPS. That's right, through a lawyer. And later on, the Clinton campaign would later do the same thing to investigate Trump. So Obama's little dirty trick, which he probably learned from the Clintons, or maybe he didn't, and they actually learned something from him. But, I mean, in 2012, Barack Obama's campaign hired Fusion GPS, to dig up dirt on Republican presidential candidate Mittens Romney. Now, see, you'll get people that say it's not illegal. People always hire somebody to dig up dirt. That is correct. They do, and that is not illegal. But what is illegal is when you do not put that in your finances and you hide it under something else, like saying you're paying a lawyer for something, for legal services, when you're not. You're actually paying a lawyer who's giving the money to somebody else. Now, if you think recently in the news, that's what they tried to accuse Donald Trump on the porn star Stormy or Rainey, or whatever her name is, by saying that Trump gave money to somebody else who gave it to her, and he didn't disclose that. So that's very interesting in that sense, how now we know these people did it. Obama did it. Hillary did it, and nobody seems to care because they hid the payments, through their law firm, Perkins Cole, just like the Clintons did. Now the coincidences pile up, right? I mean, it's just the same old thing. Which is funny because I remember when Mittens Romney actually, for once, said something tough and talked about how Russia was and how tough they were and how they're our biggest opponent. Obama not only laughed at him, but told him the Cold War was what the 80s wants their Cold War back, or some snarky comment that all his little dimwit friends laughed at. And yet, sad but true, even Mitt Romney was right on that one. All we know is it's the same dirty tricks from O'Slammer as it was from Clinton. So who learned it from who? We'll never know, right? But we do know that both are illegal and both should be prosecuted. And all should go to jail. That's what we do now. Yes, I agree, and hopefully everybody else agrees. Because, what's right is right, right? Right. So now we know that, Barack Obama spent $36 million to hide information. Now, $36 million. And whose money would that have been? Well, why, that would be your money, and that would be my money, and all the taxpayers' money. So, that's what you got. Now, what's interesting on it is he spent the $36 million, 36.2, with defending and refusal to turn over federal records that were granted under the Freedom of Information Act. And it was a record they had previously set for how much money they had spent, and they set it again. The most transparent presidency, as he told you, spent the most on hiding everything. From Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State, Fast and Furious records, Benghazi records, so forth and so on. And one of the other things that this money doesn't account for, which is a lot of money he spent. I mean, he spent almost $2 million, remember, on this birth certificate. Now, he said it was the real birth certificate, but he spent like $2 million in court defending that he didn't want anyone to see his birth certificate. So you know something's real, and yet you spent $2 million of taxpayer money so nobody can see it. Why? I mean, are you just a jerk? Do you want to waste taxpayer money? Or do you know something else? Either way, again, Obama's in the wrong, as always. Obama's in the wrong. I mean, Mr. Transparent. Mr. Transparent. In the final year of Obama's administration, people who asked for records, received censored files or nothing in 77% of the requests. In Obama's first full year, it was only 65%. Basically denying almost everything, or giving you nothing when they give you something. But that is a guy who claimed to be scandal-free, no spinach of corruption, and the most transparent president in the history of the United States. The numbers don't lie. The reality doesn't lie. Nothing lies but you, Obama. Sorry, but you're a fraud. That's just as simple as that. So now, if you guys know that it was last week, Christian Saucier, he was a U.S. Navy sailor, and he was pardoned by President Trump. He was charged and jailed in October of 2016 for taking photographs on board a nuclear submarine in 2009. So he took some pictures. He admitted it was stupid. He just wanted to have some mementos. The guy had a pretty much clean record otherwise. He was a young kid. What he said made just a stupid mistake. And he said he had no problem with, being punished for it. Low-level punishment within the military. He was active duty at the time. And that was it. And that's all it should have been. But the DOJ, under Obama, he feels, Saucier, that they used him as a scapegoat to take the heat off of Hillary Clinton for mishandling classified information. Now, that's very interesting. And I don't know if that was why they did it. But if you look at it, Saucier they went out of their way to make an example of this guy. In his case, what I know about it, just a young kid doing something a little dumb. Like he said, he probably wanted mementos. And, he could have been punished, and definitely active duty, he should have been punished for what he did, because we have to have security, definitely. But the fact of they wanted this guy in jail for a long time and punished. And yet you have people like Chelsea Manning who gave out secrets, caught, and they wanted her to have less time in jail, and Obama pardoned. And then you have people like Hillary Clinton who haven't even been charged when it's not theory, not debate, but fact that she mishandled not only classified information, not only super classified information, not only less than classified information by putting it in a place that her own private server, which was illegal. Not only did they destroy and tamper with evidence, and nothing happened to her. They were allowed to actually give what evidence they wanted to. Again, I'll go back to the theory of, even if you were a small-time drug dealer, let's say you sold some marijuana, right? And the cops know about it, and they come to your house, and they have a warrant for you, and you say, And when they knock on the door, you open the door, and the officer's like, I have a warrant. So what's the first thing they do? They rip right through that door, show you that warrant, you read it, and there's police everywhere, or SWAT team, whoever they bring in, and they're searching right away. But this was with Clinton. When they came in with that warrant, and they said, we need to, whatever, this and that. And she's like, oh, well, let me have you guys wait outside, and I'll be with you in a few minutes. I just got to tidy up a little and clean up some stuff, and I'll be right out there, and then you guys can come in and do what you need to. And the cops are, oh, really, ma'am? Well, gee, that's so thoughtful of you. We're going to wait outside. Well, let us know when you're ready. And, of course, she'll destroy everything she can. Okay, guys, I'm ready for you to come in. Well, you look at that. There's a broken BlackBerry. There's a broken tablet. Whoa, there's no motherboard or any memory in this computer. Whoa, look at this. Here's 3 monitors with no computers to them. Whoa, here's an empty server cabinet. Well, that's interesting. Well, seems like nothing's wrong here. We'll leave you alone, Miss Clinton. Yeah, that's not the way it would work for anybody. They have the warrant. They come in and they seize stuff. You don't get a chance to hand over what you want. But yet in America, that's what happened with Hillary Clinton. And yet still, they found out she committed crimes and no punishment was taking place. A sad but true commentary on, our unfortunate lack of justice system. Now, this week, we've had the big joke of the week is Mueller invokes unusual conspiracy to defraud government, charged to ensnare more targets. Special counsel Robert Mueller and his prosecutors have invoked an unusual conspiracy to defraud the government charge to ensnare a Russian cyber network and could use the same legal strategy to go after President Trump and his associates. Even the conspiracy is not linked to a criminal act. Although the president consistently denies any wrongdoing, Mr. Mueller's 10-month-long, and it's longer than that because it really started before then, investigation has become the heart of the Trump-Russian election meddling saga, dominating headlines and leaving the White House entangled in conflict and controversy as additional charges have also been fired against 4 of his close associates, with further indictments likely. Close associates. Who really are the close associates? And, Flynn's charges are going to be dropped. Let's just say that. They're going to be dropped. Or he'll win severely in court. He'll never get convicted. Not only do they have little to no evidence against him, but everything they have is tainted. Charges against who else? Snapadopoulos, that clown, please. The guy was a coffee runner at best. Charges against who? Oh, the guy who defrauded the government and his lawyer years before he worked for Trump. Again, Manafort, yeah. Nothing to do with the election or Trump. Sorry. At least come with something good. And if you had, you would. So, Mueller, who is not a Republican in any stretch, to stop with the Republican phony crap. Former FBI director, yes, who oversaw 9/11 and other tragedies and lack of good convictions. Yes, that's Robert Mueller. He indicted 13 Russian nationals. Wow. 13 guys who will never come and never get charged to the U.S. Yeah, that's like me convicting Fat Jong-un from North Korea there. Yeah, that really means a lot. But anyway, on with this nonsense. So they're basically saying that Mueller is going to never leave us alone, right? No, that Mueller is going to waste our time even more. Yes, that's what they're saying, in essence. But they're also saying that they're doing legal circles, and they're going to There are underlying legal theories besides the indictments, and he's leveraging these theories into a powerful instrument with respect to both foreign and domestic actors. And what they're saying is basically that he's got so much and he's so intelligent ahead of people. He's spinning these circles. And so instead of charging now for conspiracy or obstruction of justice, he's so smart and he's got this all that he's going to wait because the circle isn't complete because he's spinning it. And Mueller spins it slow and so accurate that he's going to have to wait a few years before he can charge Trump because he wants to make sure he completes the circle of life, or the circle of whatever bull, they're trying to thrust upon the American people. But sorry, I'm not buying it because, the minute these guys have leaked any possible thing, like I said, in the 80s, if they found a bottle of open Russian dressing at Trump Tower and had a picture of it in a garbage can, that would be leaked as conspiracy. The fact that they have nothing just shows you, because if they had anything, they'd leak it. They'd be out with it. They'd be charging. I mean, these guys, the only hope, if something actually happened, the only hope Trump would have is that 2 or 3 of them would trip over each other and knock themselves out on the way to the podium to tell everybody in America. Because they'd be running so fast. They'd be going to CNN. They'd be going to the podium. They'd be having a press conference. They'd be having a special press conference. They'd be having a special press conference. And they're not, because they have nothing. And the only thing that's happened is there's more evidence that other people did things, and it wasn't Trump. And they have no credibility. I mean, like I said, the conviction they have against Flynn isn't even going to stand up in any court. And they've tried to pressure and push all of these people to say something about Trump. And at the end of the day, all it comes back to is they have some porn star on the Make America Horny Again tour. They have some, has-beens that never were. And that's all they have, trying to get Trump on something. And that's it. I'm sorry, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Like, anybody involved in this should have to give up their law license or anything trust me, if you as a civilian were getting this harassed, and after a year, and there's still no evidence, as you see in every movie, as you see everywhere else in society, you would say, charge me or shut the blank up, because you're just wasting everybody's time. Okay? And that's it. And that's why they're not charging them, because they don't have anything. And they've pressed everybody they can. They've gone to people's grandkids. They've gone to people's kids. They've tried to make people bankrupt. They've tried everything they can. I'm sure if somebody had some good information, they'd pay them, just like they tried to pay these hookers and prostitutes to say stuff about Trump. They would pay them if they could. And they can, but unfortunately there's nobody that has anything that's credible. And that's why it's not happening. Like again, I say, with all the investigations they've done on Trump, how do they not have something? He's actually a lot cleaner than I thought, to be honest. But that's me. Disturbing, disgusting, horrid story. United Airlines. It is amazing. Weren't they the airlines last year that beat up some dude? Just recently, what we have, Delta Airlines, they were canceling, right, their discount program that not many people use, although I actually use that, but they were canceling that program, and United says, oh yeah, Delta, you think you're badass? You know how we can possibly top that and a bad assault on a passenger? Well, United confirmed that a dog died on a flight to LaGuardia Airport after its employee forced its owner to stow this dog in an overhead compartment. Now, one, is the employee a dipshit? And the quick answer to that is yes, yes, and hell yes. Is the person, the passenger, an absolute dipshit? I wouldn't fly on a plane. I have people, I gotta get to this, I gotta get to, look, I am the person who wants to get places the most. I hate being late. I want to be on time. I want to be early. I think if I'm on time, I'm late. I hate missing things. I haven't missed a day of work in well over 20 years. I don't miss any appointments, unless I'm out like a car broke. That's probably, and even then I'll find a way to get there. So now, how, as you as a person, how would you even let someone tell you that, look you straight in the face and tell you that, and you do it? I mean, if I had a dog, a cat, like, I'm going to put them in a baggage compartment. Like, they're going to die would be my first thought. I don't know. Never did it before. But, yeah, they're going to die. And then, like, I still want to say this isn't a real story, but it's been confirmed all over the place. So I'm assuming that it's a real story. Now, I can't believe that other passengers on this plane didn't go, what are you doing and why are you doing it? I mean, I don't know. Personally, I'd probably call the ASPCA or someone, any place I can get to, somebody to get involved in this. There's no way as another person on a plane that I would let this happen. I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, there's nothing to do but almost curse. I cannot believe that not only an employee suggested this, because obviously they don't care, the owner of the dog, who obviously it's your dog, you would think you like it, that you would literally put your animal in an overhead bin. I mean, and then think about it. This dog's probably barking when it goes in that overhead bin. And then eventually that fades away. What do you think happened to the dog? And the dog dies. Like, I'm sorry, when you put an animal in that situation, they will make that noise till they can't physically anymore. Trust me, I've had cats in a car. You can go on a 2-hour ride and that cat screaming the whole way there. Just being in a car. And I'm not saying being even in the car, just sitting in a car because they don't like it. And now you're talking a dog on a plane being in an overhead bin where they can't breathe, where it's dangerous, they're moving back and forth. No light, no oxygen. And for absolutely, I mean, I would say definitely that the employee should be charged for animal cruelty. The owner of the dog should be charged for animal cruelty. And I would say any passenger within that close vicinity that knew about this and didn't call anybody and didn't say anything, and I mean really say anything, that, oh, that's not a good idea, they should be charged too. It's just beyond disgusting and disgraceful. It's one of the, I'm not going to say horrific because it doesn't, the little kids getting shot or somebody getting shot during a funeral, it doesn't add up to that. But it's just, this is something not even a fourth world nation would be doing. And the fact that it happens here and other people literally are there sitting by and watching this happen is just overly disgusting. And so I gotta stop right now because we do not want to end the show on that horrific of a note. So we'll go to, for shits and giggles, we'll go to Maxine Waters. Now everybody knows what a fool she is. So all over Maxine's district, ICE has been installing holding cells for people to drop off suspected undocumented immigrants. These are not only illegal, but they're inhumane, and Maxine will not stand for it. Now, it'd be great if you can picture what it is. It's those ice chests you see outside stores that hold the actual ice. Packaged ice, crystal clear ice, with the red lettering and the little snow on top of the IC&E. That's what Maxine Waters would probably be complaining about. Because, God forbid, Maxine Waters. And then another joke. Mother's Day is coming soon, right? May 13th. And as you know, it wouldn't be a great Mother's Day unless you can go gender neutral. That's right, gender neutral. Gender neutral Mother's Day cards hopefully will be at retailers, and they can reduce their use of the M word to make the day's celebration more transgender inclusive. Happy You Day cards, and mother will not appear on these cards. The move is aimed at broadening out who the cards can go to, whether it's grandmas or transgender moms. Traditional cards might still be sold, but why have traditional cards when you can have two moms are better than one? Or, Dad, thanks for being the most amazing mom. Or just have a blank card and you can put whatever you want to it. It's for transgender, bigender, honey-gender, e-gender, agender, no gender. And everybody can save money and be creative at the same time. Thanks for listening to Reality Check. I'm your host, Ben Shanneman, and I will be back with you next Tuesday, same time. Have a safe evening and week.